Hey guys, this is Master Flowers. This is going to be a response video to Brian's video on hostility towards third edition Dungeons and Dragons. Basically, he gives his opinion on how he feels about third edition Dungeons and Dragons, and obviously it's a negative. He doesn't really like it. His channel is bgtrocchia, and if you're not subbed to his channel, definitely sub, as he always puts out a lot of good information. So Brian stated, you stated, if I'm specifically talking to you, Brian, is that, the reason that you didn't like the third edition. And I can't disagree with any of the stuff that you put in there. I have played D&D from first, second, third, 3.5, 3.75 Pathfinder, which is what my group plays now. And I've even purchased 4th edition books and played 4th edition. Now, for me, I find the game that works best for me right now is 3.75, and some of that is because I've gotten used to the mechanics that are based on the 3.0 or the D20 engine, basically. So I have no problem playing the game now. But when the game first came out, I totally was against it. I hated the man for creating a whole new system when I had already spent thousands and thousands of dollars on first and second edition books, skills and powers books, and all the supplements that go along with them. Years of subscriptions to Dungeon Magazine and Dragon Magazine that those rules would have to be converted or found a way to change to the third edition rules. So I was adamant against not switching. And my players were totally for switching. They love the ideas of being to modify their characters even more so than using like the skills and powers system, which is what we were playing at the time. And they love the fact that the feats could change, make their characters independent, make them different. So not every fighter was the same, and not every rogue is the same. Now, I, like you, would say that yeah, you could roleplay your character different. You don't have to be the same. But because my players are, the majority of them have more to do with the crunch of the game, they were set. They wanted to eventually switch over, and as I think any DM would do, you at least take a look at the next system coming out, because if all your players want to do it, eventually they may not play your game anymore. So you got to at least give it a shot and try it out. So I was lucky enough that one of my players actually purchased third edition books for me. They gave it to me as a Christmas present. In fact, he gave books to everyone in our group. Everyone got the same Christmas present. We all got the books, and I went through them, tried to learn them, and played a couple of games, and found that for my style, I didn't have a problem with the rules system. Now, I know that people say it's maybe, I mean, is it simplified? I don't know. In some ways, I always found first and second edition to be simple too, so I never really had a problem with it. And I think that perhaps my gaming style is less worried about the rules and more worried about telling the right story, that I can pretty much use any rules. The only rules I could never use in a game would be I don't know if you ever played the Robotech game, but if you ever played that book, man, that is the shittiest set of rules ever. Maybe that and Judge Dredd, I think those are the two. Well, anyways, that's off topic. So, let me get back. So once we started playing 3.0, I never fully purchased more books than was actually needed. Now, I've had a lot of my players, they purchased all the different books, and they wanted to bring in different things because of the supplements. And then 3.5 came in, which I upgraded to 3.5. Obviously, you want to have all the mistakes out of your books when you're trying to do them, and rules that had already come up in my games that I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I had already fixed. So I played 3.5 for several years, and I don't see it as any worse or better than the other systems that came from before. Um, Players seem to like having more to do than just using their imagination, and that maybe that has to do with the increase in role playing game, video games or whatnot, where they want to see their stats moving around and they want to see new feats and skill numbers and stuff coming up. And I don't have a problem with those things being in it. Now, if they're detracting from the game, if say a player wants to keep making a sense motive check on everybody that he sees, yeah, I'm gonna put my foot down and just say, dude, no, that's ridiculous. You're metagaming. You're not actually role playing or something like that. Um, but I think the system works okay for what it is. Um, and I know that this isn't. I'm not trying to argue that the system is good or bad, or it just for me when I use it, that using the at least from the Pathfinder, which they clarified and fixed a lot of the 3.5 mistakes, I don't have a problem with it. And I still find myself adapting the system to fit my rules, the things that I want in my homebrew game. And I think that I guess if I hadn't tried the game and played it, I wouldn't have had that opinion. So I guess if I was telling anyone who hasn't actually played 3.5 or 3.75 or whatever, at least get out there and play it. Don't just assume that it's bad, because I think originally I just assumed that it was going to be bad, completely bad, like so unplayable. And I think a lot of it had for me to do with having to repurchase everything, repurchase all the new books and things that went along with them and the supplements. And yeah, so I guess I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to review this to see if it makes any sense. But so props to you, Brian. I like the fact that you got out there and just put your opinion out there, and I'm sure you sat back in your chair ready to hear what different people would say. But as far as second edition, I love second edition. I played that the longest. I enjoyed the skills and powers section of it. I thought there were some problems with it, which I corrected with house rules, which wasn't a big deal. And now that I play 3.75, I play Pathfinder, I have some problems with it, which I correct with house rules. And so I guess except for having newer, shinier books, there really hasn't changed my games, except that in my homebrew setting, I change my age every time I change a different game book, game, setting type. So I don't know. I guess that's all I got to say about it. Thanks for sharing, and keep on gaming, man.